And we are live. What's going on, YouTube Live? It's your boy, Billy Rowe. Today is Wednesday. I'd like to welcome you to the first row. If it is Wednesday, you should already know what that means. It's time for the Wednesday word. That's Wednesday word. Jumping straight into it. Tonight's topic is what matters most to you. So as always, with all of my topics, I like to share what my topic means, what my thoughts are surrounding this topic. And so when I started thinking about the topic, what matters most to you, in some cases, what matters most to me, really what I was thinking about was how we prioritize our lives based on what we've decided is important. And sometimes how we may prioritize our life or what we may think is important may be out of sync with how we actually prioritize our life. And so when I started thinking about, again, that what matters most to you or what matters most to me, it really was about trying to get what was important, what mattered the most to me, to be in sync with how I am prioritizing. I don't know why I all of a sudden had a problem with that word, but while trying to get that in sync with how I am prioritizing the actions and the choices and the decisions that I'm making in life. So what matters most to you is really about finding that harmony between really how you internally feel inside, like your desires, your beliefs, and all those things, and really lining them up with how you're going through each and every single day intentionally. So tonight I got about 4 tools for you on what matters most, how you're going to get your priorities to sync up with what is important to you in life. So hang on. I hope you guys are ready. We're jumping straight into it. But let's get started. I was going to say something else, but let's get started. Anyway, the very first tool that I came up with when it comes to what matters most to you is that we have to stop committing to distractions. And I normally don't like to tell people what they have to do, but in this case, I'm actually going to say, in order to get what's important to line up with what your priorities are and your priorities to line up with what's important to you, you have to stop committing to distractions. I'm going to say we, because I'm going to include myself in this. We have to stop committing to distractions. Hey, what's going on, Keone? Congratulations on the new baby. But that is the very first tool. And why is that important? The reason it's important is because when you commit to a distraction, what is actually happening is you are trying to force relevancy into something that is irrelevant. And so let's say for me, for a very long time, there was a significant amount of relevancy placed in video games. Now, I'm not saying that I should never play video games. I enjoy video games, and downtimes R&R is good to have. However, I was forcing relevancy into video games to the point where it was consuming a significant portion of my day. So let's say I'm playing 8 hours of video games. I have 8 hours of work that I do a day. That's 16 hours, 2/3 of my day gone. I haven't driven anywhere. I haven't eaten anything. I haven't spent any significant time with people that I love and I care about. So the first tool is to stop committing to distractions, because when you start committing to distractions, that is the fastest way to get out of sync of what's important to you. I'm a very driven individual professionally. I'm driven when it comes to my family. I'm driven when it comes to my friends. I'm driven when it comes to interacting onto the network of First Row. Like, these are things that are in sync with my drive. If I commit to the distraction of 8 hours of video games a day, I guarantee you there's not a good connection with my family. There's not a good professional connection because I'm probably not getting the amount of sleep I need. There's also not a good content production on First Row, and I'm not able to continue to sharpen and hone my skills in my craft. So that's the very first tool, is stop committing to distractions, and stop tricking yourself. We trick ourselves into believing that what we are doing is important. And one of the language changes I made over the past couple of years, I think it was like 2 years ago, I started making this change, was I stopped telling people that I was busy. And that was me trying to get away from committing to distractions unnecessarily, because I think we can all agree that you can be busy. You can be doing tons of things. However, that busyness does not necessarily equate to productivity. There can be people who are busy who don't have a job and they don't have an income, but they're super busy. It's like, man, they're always busy. They're always doing something, but they're not necessarily investing their energy or their busyness energy into anything that is producing a result for them or that is creating progress for them. That doesn't mean you have to get paid for everything, but that's just an example. So that is one of the language changes that helps me in not committing to distractions is because if I feel like language wise, I'm going to say, oh yeah, after doing all these things today, I was really busy, then that means there were some things in my day that I need to really analyze and look at and probably take out of the to-do list, because those are busy tasks that can either be done later when I'm doing that R&R or whatever it may be, or they can be eliminated altogether and I don't have to do them. So that is the very first tool, very lengthy, but very first tool. Stop committing to distractions. Stop getting yourself out of step and out of sync with your priorities. The second tool that I came up with when it comes to what matters most to you is reflect often. So just like you have to stop committing to distractions, if you don't spend the time in reflection, if you don't spend the time actually looking at what it is that you're doing or have done, then it's kind of hard to know if you got the result that you wanted. So going back to the change in language, from going from busy to productive, when I take time and I look at the course of my day, I can actually now take just those two different languages and sift and sort, like, okay, this goes here, that goes there, this goes here, that goes there. And if too many things are falling into the busy category and not enough things are falling into productive category, now because I'm reflecting, I'm able to tweak and make the adjustments that I need to make in order to continue to bring that alignment of, hey, this is what's important to me, to bring that alignment up to, hey, these are the priorities and the actions that I'm taking to align with what's important to me. And another thing about reflecting often, actually, yeah, well, we'll go with the reflecting often still. However, but another thing about reflection is that what it does is it allows you to kind of look at your life in a third-party perspective, giving yourself the ability to say, okay, this is what I see when I'm pulling myself out of first person mode. First person mode, I always tell people, first person mode, you can't see a whole lot of your face unless you're looking in the mirror. However, when you're in third person mode, you're able to kind of take a step back and say, okay, how am I making these priorities? What decisions am I making? What actions am I taking? And you're also able to ask yourself a very, very, very important question. Reflection allows you to ask yourself, does it still matter? And the reason that question is so important is because if it does still matter, great, then you continue doing actions and prioritizing accordingly. However, if it doesn't matter, it's about acknowledging that some of our priorities have an expiration date. It's no different than when you like buy a gallon of milk and you look and you say, oh, well, that expires, today's the 15th, that expires on the 12th. So now you know that that milk is really no good to use and it no longer serves the purpose that you would use milk for. So you're able to get rid of it and not emotionally be attached to the milk because it had an expiration date. The problem is because of some distractions or because of some of the reluctance to be willing to let go or acknowledge the expiration date, we hold on to certain behaviors, we hold on to certain priorities beyond the time that we should be holding on to them. So that's the second tool. And the last part, I'm sorry, about the second tool, I really want to make sure I mention this, is that not only do some priorities expire, some priorities evolve and they change and they shift. So they're not exactly the same as they were when you started. And so a really good example of this was when I was younger. I used to be like super money driven, like money, 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 money. I got to get this money, got to get this money. But what happened is though money is still important to me, it's still a tool that I can utilize to accomplish some of the goals that I have set for myself. Though it's important, I started realizing that the priority level, if I had it as priority 1, it actually shifted down to like priority 3. All of a sudden now happiness was more important. All of a sudden health was more important. And that lesson came when I was making a lot of money because I was doing a lot of work. I was working Lyft. I was working at my full-time job, working a part-time job as a server. I had an abundance of money coming in. However, the problem was my health deteriorated, and because of the stress that I was putting on my body, I all of a sudden contracted shingles. And I don't know if you've ever had shingles. It's a very painful process, or painful. I don't know if it's a disease or ailment, whatever. It's painful. That's all I do remember. It's super painful. And when the doctor told me, hey, this shingles is being driven by your lack of sleep and the stress that you're under and the stress that you're putting on your body, when I started hearing that, all of a sudden money started to evolve, or maybe in this case, we're going to say devolve from such top priority number 1 down to like 2, 3, 4, like, because now one of my priorities is I never want to have shingles again. So now my health is at a higher level where it's like, hey, look, at all costs, I want to remain healthy. So that's why I try not to overly stress about things. And there's times where I'm under significant stress, significant pressure, whether professionally or personally. I'm under pressure, but I really work very hard to keep that pressure from becoming the stress that can trigger shingles for first and foremost, but other health issues as well. So that's the second tool, is reflect often, because it's going to help you understand how your priorities evolve, if your priorities expire, and really decide whether something or not is important to you or matters to you. So that's tool number 2. Tool number 3 is set influence-based, not concern-based goals. And the reason this tool is so important to me is because there's a difference. There's a stark difference between influence and concern. Influence is something that you are impacting. Somebody asked me the other day about, I forget who it was, but they were saying somebody's wife was a social media Instagram influencer. And what is that career? And I was like, well, that's a person who has an abundance of influence with people across social media. So you might have millions and millions of followers who are following and listening to and waiting to make actions or take actions in their life based on what you say. Like, hey, you guys should all buy this product. And because you're an influencer, you're able to make that shift take place. However, if you're a social media concerner, if you're based in the concern bracket, it's not about you making waves that actually invoke change or inspire people to change and grow. It's about you're so concerned about what people are going to think about what you say that what they think dictates really more so what you do. And that's one of the things that I'm really proud about on First Row, is being a place where content is authentic, where the people who are speaking, like even last night's conversation on working through marriage with Sylvia London, people are speaking transparently in a place where it puts them in a vulnerable state. Like, hey, look, there's some things I haven't gotten right, but here's how I've gotten to where I am today. And that transparency, that influence really is based on, hey, this is me being true to who I am, and it's going to resonate with the right people versus what are they going to think about me? So I don't want to share this tool or this nugget or this experience. So setting those goals, what it does is it helps us stay on track towards keeping that balance between what's important and the priorities that we're setting and the actions that we're taking. But it also helps us measure. It helps us measure if we are making decisions based on what other people think, or if we're making decisions based on what really resonates true with us. And the goal is to really impact people from your standpoint, from what you believe, from what is resonating within you. Because when you're impacting people from that perspective, then all of a sudden, when you go back to tool number 2 and you're reflecting, you're able to say, is that the impact that I wanted to have? So it can be like with a husband to a wife. And I use this analogy often because of the fact that sometimes relationships struggle with intimacy and affection. So it's like with a husband to a wife or a wife to a husband, we can get caught up in the day-to-day. Oh, I got to do this, got to, get the kids ready, got to do all these different things. And at some point that may create a level of neglect with your partner. And so if it creates that level of them feeling neglected, now all of a sudden they're coming to you and like, hey, I really feel like we're losing our intimacy. We're losing our connection. And for you, because you're going to reflect, because I'm giving you these tools, you're going to reflect. And you're going to have these goals that are based on influence. You're going to have to ask yourself, is that really the intention that I have of neglecting my partner? Do I want them to feel like I don't care about them, that I don't have time to them, that they are not a priority in my life? Do I want them to feel like that? Because if it's not, if I don't want that to be my influence, now I need to set intentional influence-based goals that say, okay, well, one of the things I'm taking from your notebook, Sylvia, if you're watching live, we're going to make sure we kiss each other before we leave the house. We're going to make sure that we tell each other we love each other before we go to sleep. Like, then you start implementing goals, actions that will help you achieve the overall goal of influence of, I want you to feel like you are nurtured, cared, appreciated, and a priority in not only this relationship, but in my life. That is why influence-based goals are helpful for you to do that. What concern-based goals do is they drag you further away from the things that may be important to you. Now, you might get lucky in the concerns that you have about other people's ideas and concepts and society's trends. Those might align with what's important to you and you get lucky. But normally what I believe happens is what the concerns you have about how other people are going to perceive you, what they're going to think. When you start basing goals on that, it actually begins to move you away from what's important to you. And if you move away from what's important to you, then all of a sudden those priorities sync up with what's not really important to you. And here's what's important to you over here, hanging out like, so these are the things that are going to make me feel fulfilled, make me feel whole, make me feel like I'm making an impact and a difference in the world and leaving a legacy. However, I'm acting and prioritizing up here with things that are really just based on the concerns that I hope I have this perfect, pristine image. So that is the third tool that I came up with, is set influence-based goals, not concern-based goals. And also, one of the things about setting those goals is making sure that your goals do not counter each other. You don't want to set a goal like, oh, I want to be home every night for dinner at 6 o'clock, and then set a goal that says, well, health is important and I want to be at the gym every day or every night at 6 o'clock. Those goals are going to always argue with each other. And I forget, I think it's in Japanese culture, they call it feng shui, where those are arguing goals. And so at every time you meet one of those goals, the other goal has to suffer. Make sure that your goals work fluidly with each other and they are able to flow without creating too much friction, but definitely without having to run into each other head on. And then the fourth and the final tool that I came up with when it comes to what matters most to you is your beliefs are the most important thing for you. Why do I say that? Let me say what I don't mean. I don't mean that your belief system cannot be influenced by other people, that you can't be open to other points of view. I do not mean that. I don't mean like isolate yourself and it's all me. But what I do mean is it's most important for you because basically all of our prime directives that we choose to follow, whether that's the golden rule, treating people how you want to be treated, whether that is don't steal, on all these different other levels, all of those come from our belief system, what we believe. And if you're allowing that belief system that you have within yourself to be, I'm going to say contaminated, not necessarily that it's always negative, but you're allowing it to be contaminated on things that are really not resonating with you as your belief system and your belief structure, what you're going to find is you're going to find yourself living other people's priorities or living other societal trends based on their belief system interjecting into yours. And that's going to leave you a very unfulfilled life. And it's going to always, I can almost say always, hey, what's going on, Selena? I can almost say always lead you to a place to where your priorities are going to be out of sync with what's important to you, because you're actually operating, again, going back to influence-based or concern-based goals, you're operating on the concern-based goals from a concern-based goal point of view. So again, your belief system has to be like the priority to you. And there's plenty of times where I have been told that I was something that I wasn't. I actually was having a conversation today where somebody was like, hey, somebody tells me that they love me and they care about me and they're attractive, or that I'm attractive, but I don't believe that because that's not the story that I hear in my own head. And for me, I was like, well, yeah, that it doesn't really matter what they say if it doesn't align with your belief system. I was like, for me, that's like when people see me sometimes in public, they're like, oh, he smokes weed. I've never smoked weed a day in my life, but I don't allow their belief system of me, oh, well, he must be somebody who smokes weed, to say, you know what? Maybe I need to start smoking weed since apparently I look like I smoke weed. No, I don't do that. I say, this is my belief system. I have a reason why I choose not to smoke. If you don't have the same reason about why you choose not to smoke, that's your belief system. It's not mine. And I'm going to stick on my belief system of, hey, smoking is not a good thing for me, so I'm not willing to partake in that. So those are the things from my perspective on the tools when it comes to what matters most that I think are critical tools in order to making sure that what matters most, in the words of what is the book? I don't even have the book here. Oh yeah, I do. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I knew I had it somewhere. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Never let what matters most be at the mercy of what matters the least. So if it matters the most to you, put it as a priority in your life. Take action on it at 100% maximum effort that you possibly can. So those are the tools. I want to go over them one more time really quickly. The first tool being stop committing to distractions. Stop making things relevant that are not relevant. Tool number 2 is reflect often. Always look back on the day, look back on the month, look back on the year, and reflect on if the choices that you made were in that busy category, they kept you busy, or if they made you productive towards the goals that you've set. That's why tool number 3 is create or set influence-based, not concern-based goals. And then tool number 4, again, your beliefs have to be the most important thing to you. So as always, thank you, Cousin Brian. As always with the Wednesday word, I like to share a personal story about kind of what helped me create this concept, these tools, and really hone into what this topic meant to me. And so tonight's topic, I'm kind of, going back to the transparency thing, being who, you really truly want to be authentically. Tonight's topic is a little difficult for me because it came at a time in my life where my priorities were not in sync with what was important to me. However, because of certain other things that were important to me and this experience that I had, I all of a sudden had to bring up, this is really important. And because it's really important, I'm going to have to put myself in a harder situation than I really want to be. So for me, this story really is me being transparent. So bear with me, don't judge, because fingers and all that stuff pointing back at you. So for me, there was an experience that I had where while I was married, I had allegedly gotten a young lady pregnant. So obviously there was infidelity in the marriage. That infidelity ended up having to be addressed. But in the midst of addressing this infidelity, this is why I say the things that were important. My family was important. My relationship was important. All these different things were important, but I was not taking the actions that aligned with that. So I was out of sync with edifying and keeping my marriage in a safe place. And so in the midst of my infidelity, I ended up sleeping with somebody who later on came back and said, I am pregnant. I'm pregnant with your child. I'm pregnant with your son. It's yours. Okay, no problem. This is life. This is not the way I seen life going. This is not what I wanted for myself. This is not what I wanted from the situation. However, that's irrelevant now. There's a child on the way. So one of my biggest things, and I mean, if you know me well, one of my biggest things is fatherhood and making sure that I am a father to my children, irregardless of the situation that brings them to the planet. So for me, this person tells me, hey, this person's your child, or this child is yours. We're going to have a baby. Okay, so we have a baby. We're too late in the process to get like a DNA check and all these different things during the pregnancy. So we have to hold off on that. Because fatherhood's so important to me, in order to attempt to align my priorities and get my priorities right, yes, my family's important. I'm trying to align that. So I was very honest about, hey, this is what's going on. This is the situation. It sucks. We may not survive it. We might survive it, all these different things. But fatherhood was important to me. So instead of being like, okay, well, I got this kid and it's this kid that I really wasn't planning on having with this person I really wasn't planning on having a kid with, I'm out. I said fatherhood's important. And so I immediately aligned my priorities with being a father to this child. And one of the things, I was having a conversation with somebody about it, and they were like, it's crazy that this is going on, but I'm watching you as you're making these decisions in this super self-inflicted, stressful situation. I'm watching you make these decisions, and you're genuinely trying to make the best decisions possible. Not the best decisions to like skirt accountability and skirt embarrassment. Like those things were going to come regardless, but you're trying to make the best decision for the situation. And so when the child was born, I was very much a father, very much present. And instead of being focused on, well, let's find out if this kid is mine or not, it was like, let's focus on, even until we find out this kid is mine, I'm this kid's father, and I'm going to be the father that this child needs and the father that this child deserves, because this child didn't ask to be here. This is based on choices and decisions that I've made and choices and decisions that his mother's made. And so we go for a time, I can't remember how long the time is, but we go for a time as, me helping out with the child and being involved in the child's life. And then finally we get the DNA test, and the DNA test comes back and says, this is not your child. Like by the 99.99 percentile, this is not your child. And for me, what's crazy, here's the crazy thing, where you would think the reaction and the relief would be, whew, dodged a bullet. That is not my kid. I'm done. actually for me, there was a level of disappointment because I had already committed that fatherhood is important to me. And it's important that regardless of how this child got here, that he is loved by me the same way I would love my other children, even my godchildren. And so here I now have this prioritization and importance that's lining up. And now I'm finding out, oh, wow, you're somebody that I've prioritized, and you're not in the priority bucket that I want you to be in. Now, here's where the tough decision really came in. As it came in when it was like, okay, so what's important to me? I had, remember, moved up my family being very important to me. And though in many ways I still wanted to, because of the emotional attachment, to be a father and to be a male influence in this child's life, I had to prioritize my family is very important to me, and the significant damage that would be caused to my relationship if I was like, okay, well, it's not my child, but we're going to go keep moving forward like it's my child. That would have caused a significant strain and very hurtful damage to the relationship, to where it would have jeopardized another area that I had already jeopardized in the actions previously. So I had to make the decision that, as much as I want to love you, as much as I want to be a part of your life, the priority right now is my family, and being a part of my family's life and being present there to hopefully nurture and create the healing that needed to take place. So this is why this topic was really important to me, about what matters most to you, because my family does matter. It greatly to me, and my family really is extended, not just my immediate family, but my extended family. And in my extended family is every friend that I've basically had since elementary school to present. Those are also my extended family. They're very important to me. So I'm always cognizant of the decisions that I'm making and the choices and the actions that I am taking in order to make sure that my priorities line up with what's most important to me. And so that's what this is about tonight, is find out what's most important to you, what matters most to you, and make sure that your actions and the prioritizations that you're making in life align with that. So that way you don't find yourself on the wrong side of a priority, or dealing with situations that I've had to deal with. I'm sure we've all had to deal with, that you're not dealing with those situations unnecessarily because you misprioritized something, or you basically said, hey, what matters the most to me right now is being sexually pleased or being paid a lot of money, but you're sacrificing the things that really matter the most to you. So I hope you guys have enjoyed tonight's Wednesday Word. I thank you guys for jumping in on live and rocking with me. I always want to make sure we have something for you guys here on Wednesday. We're actually going to start doing special guest hosts for Wednesday Words coming soon. So be on the lookout for that. Don't forget, if you have a topic idea for whether a Wednesday Word, an intersation, or just something that you'd like to see in general on the First Row, please send an email to us at topics@firstrow.com. That's topics@1stwroe.com. If you send us a topic there and we decide to use your topic, we'll let you know via email when your topic will be aired, and we'll also give you a shout out on the live show. So other than that, I thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Don't forget, if you like this video, to share it. If you share it, like it. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to the First Row. We are continuing to grow our subscriber base, which continues to expand our influence. And that's what we really want this network to be about, is influencing people who want to be the best person or the best version of themselves. Other than that, we will be live next week. The next time we'll be live on the First Row is next week on Tuesday. It will be a First Row intersation. The topic is mental illness in the community with Kristen Griffin. So if you're interested in that, that will be at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, May 21st, Pacific Standard Time, or at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys tonight. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Again, I look forward to seeing you next week on the First Row. Your seat is always reserved. The tools are always here, and we always appreciate your contribution and your feedback as well. Other than that, again, if you like the video, share it. If you share it, like it. Happy to engage with you in the live chat. Happy to engage with you in the comments up until 7 days after the video has been posted. But until the next time, one love, peace, and God bless.